Do they actually know our business? Do they know my vertical? Do they even know how to say our name, who our competitors are, what our potential challenges are? One thing we're looking at is trying to forward buy those SKUs that we know are going to get hit with those higher duties before the tariff hikes actually land. It's a bit of a gamble, but it could save us down the road if we can buy inventory up front.
VOX wins. Ever try explaining to your CEO why you split the influencer budget on people with less than 25,000 followers and a touch of bedrot content? Well, there might actually be a good business case to be made. Today, we're diving into micro influencers with macro impact and the effect tariffs are having all the way down the chain to last mile costs. Joining me is Dave Cashdollar, Executive Director of eCommerce at RC Willey, with prior stops at Apple, Intel, Wayfair, and Verizon. Dave, I wonder if the Queen's ransom demanded by Kardashian scale deals are yielding diminishing returns for brands. What makes micro-influencers an intriguing play today?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Richard. Happy to be here. This is really a good question because I think we're seeing an interesting evolution in the influencer space, moving away from those massive Kardashian level deals towards something quite different. The time of celebrity endorsements saw some value, but that era peaked a couple of years ago. Consumers today are very savvy. They've become a bit desensitized to the constant barrage of celebrity endorsements. It's getting harder for them to believe that any one person truly uses and loves every product that they're promoting. You know how it is. When everyone's shouting, nothing really stands out. But let's be honest, pinning down the impact of those big celebrity endorsements into sales is often murky business. Smart brands are increasingly focusing on micro influencers or cultivating what we call genuine brand ambassadors. You tend to see much higher engagement from someone with a smaller but more dedicated following who genuinely connects with and loves the products. Plus, it often brings down customer acquisition costs when you prioritize that authentic connection over just volume. It seems the industry has learned that a huge investment in a global celebrity doesn't always equal a direct boost to the bottom line. In the social media world, it feels like authenticity is becoming much more valuable than just being everywhere all the time. I found that those true brand ambassadors, the people who genuinely love what you offer, are often the most impactful influencers you can have. This kind of word of mouth connection from micro influencers feels like the next significant wave for retailers looking to make a real connection with their customers.
Shoot, so I guess there goes my plan for my beauty line to come out. I guess once you love the idea, you still have to find the right creators. Walk us through your vetting checklist for matching niche influencers to a brand's persona.
Yeah, absolutely. Finding the right creators is paramount to momentum with your brand. You can be all in on the micro influencer approach, but a misstep in selection can negate all the potential benefits. Some questions I would ask as part of my checklist would be, number one, does this influencer genuinely live and breathe in their area of expertise? Do their followers trust their opinions and their recommendations? I look for consistent organic content creation that demonstrates a real passion for the products that they endorse. High engagement within their specific community is a strong indicator here. We need to ensure that their voice resonates with the target audience that we're trying to reach as a retailer, and authenticity is key. Number two, what about demographics? Does their audience even share the values, interests, and lifestyles of our customer personas? Digging into their follower demographics to analyze the types of conversations that are happening in their comments and the overall sentiment helps us to know if this is an influencer that really meshes within our target demos. Tools can help, but there's no substitute for a human review to understand the nuances of an influencer's community. It's about finding a genuine overlap in those psychographic data points. Then third, is their content well produced? Is it engaging? Does it align with the aesthetic and tone of our brand? Consistency is key. Are they regularly posting high quality content? A sporadic or low quality presence can reflect poorly on our brand. An influencer's content should feel like a natural extension of our brand's messaging and visual identity. So although there's myriad factors that a brand manager could be thinking about, vetting new influencers is very, very critical to success of any brand. In the home goods space, we have to find where the overlap is between our existing customers, who are mostly Gen X, and our new customers from the younger demographics. We have to do all that while protecting our brand value to ensure alignment between the content the creator might be putting out and how we want our brand to be portrayed on social media. In addition, we have significant regulations we need to be compliant with. So influencer selection, especially with the small micro influencers, is tricky. Overall, they have a rabid, engaged community built around shared interests, and those are the people that we're looking for. Their deep engagement is what allows us to target very specific demographics.
That sounds like a pretty tight funnel and pretty firm filtering process. Going to take a lot of effort there, and then you're only halfway through to actually making the
Right.
impact. So, if we can connect clicks to couches, how are you tying social selling content back to real world store traffic?
Yeah, right. So for us, it's all down to getting people into our stores. That's the goal. Get people through the doors. That means our work with influencers is really focused on creating buzz and excitement around what makes our in-store experience unique, special, personal. The products showcased have to be aspirational, make people feel like they're missing out if they're not here. The tricky part's figuring out exactly how much those influencer posts actually translate into dollars walking through the store. Through the door. We've got some digital tools. Obviously, there's UTM parameters, there's location specific deals, there's all those QR codes with special discounts to try and track things, but it's not an exact science. We know most folks who are shopping for appliances and furniture don't immediately just point and click and make those purchases. They usually check us out online, they read reviews, they compare us to others, they maybe even call or email our stores, all before they actually walk through the doors. So we're trying to get smarter about connecting those digital dots to the in-store experience. Things like live online events, those avatar helpers that AI now provides for us that are popping up, and even just making it easy to book an appointment with a salesperson, all show customers that we value their time. At the end of the day, it's about meeting the customer where they are. And that means our approach has to keep getting more personalized as time goes on.
Sounds like there's a lot of different opportunities to blend strategy and what's going to really fit well for your brand. Where do you see social selling, I guess, blending most naturally into that in store journey?
Yeah, I believe the most natural blending of in-store and the social selling journey occurs when the brand trust is amplified by the influencers that we utilize online. This makes the buying process more seamless because then it's socially validated. And that's what customers are looking for now is social validation. It's about creating a cohesive brand narrative that flows effortlessly from that digital realm into the in-store physical experience. This can look like a lot of different things, depending upon the brand. But in my world, I'm focused on one, in-store screens that loop influencer UGC. That user-generated content is key. Two, you can connect the review of the influencer by QR code on your price tags so that as customers are shopping in your stores, they can actually see it used in real time in a real-world aspirational type of way from an influencer. And then finding ways to host live in-store events where influencers can blur the lines of that offline and online experience through real-time follower engagement. That's something we're really looking at for 2025.
Oh, that's interesting. I love that. So, I can sit around and doom scroll and think aspirationally want to connect to the world that my influencers are presenting me. But I come in and then it's right there. That SKU on the shelf. That is how I can picture myself getting into their world. Is going to connect me to that better experience. That makes all the sense to me in the world. Dave, having worked with such iconic brands across electronics, software, and home furnishings, I'd love to hear a hot take or a bold prediction you have about the future of retail that might surprise your industry peers.
Excellent. Well, I look at brands like Wayfair, Amazon, and even Intel. They continue to attempt forays into the brick and mortar space. And although I honestly believe that customers prefer the in-person experience within our vertical, at least in the furniture world, customers are savvy enough to know when a brand is just trying to break into untapped revenue streams. No customer supports a money grab from a behemoth brand that is predominantly online only. And we know how COVID brought like 3 years of online business forward back into 2020 and 2021. But the past 2 years have shown us that there is a transition away from e-commerce and back towards brick and mortar. This requires brands to be committed to providing the best possible customer experience. Having worked at some of these big monster brands, I can tell you that customer experience is not goal one. With most of these brands having access to the same products and inventory, the only unique differentiator that I can offer as a retailer is and always will be the way the customer feels when they're interacting with our brand. Providing world-class customer experiences at every touch point in the customer journey is the mantra by which winning brands will gobble up market share, at least in my opinion.
Yeah. No, it goes back to what you said before. I loved you're talking about the best influencer match is all about that genuine connection. And you're right. I think people know is there really expertise? Is there something meaningful behind that brand? Or is it capital standing up something quickly, and quickly can mean full of mistakes and a sort of suboptimal quality of that product? What about in, say, an underrated factor that you think brand experience leaders are overlooking right now, maybe if they're a little bit too over-focused on AI?
Well, that's a really prescient question, Richard. I mean, I agree. AI is a very valuable tool. Um, all of us are going to likely have to use AI in some form or fashion across multiple aspects of our businesses. But honestly, I'm still not convinced that customers want to interact with AI. When it comes to buying things or getting help, AI can sometimes feel impersonal. And again, going back to my comment about authenticity, I think that's critical. I look at what grabs my kids' attention. When they are on social media or on YouTube or whatever, it's not crazy futuristic tech that they're into. It's all about artists and craftsmanship. They're watching high-end cooking shows. They're watching those people make those cool custom resin tables. They're watching sculptures made out of all things, things from colored pencils to different wood and different materials. It feels like the level of skill and artistry in something is something we're missing in business right now. There's this big split between people craving connection and empathy and someone who gets them, and then businesses who are quickly sprinting towards self-service and AI because those generate bottom line improvements. In this whole data-driven AI world, the unique story and true craftsmanship are getting lost in the noise of technology. Consumers are more and more interested in where their stuff comes from, the people who make it, and if the brand actually even cares about things like sustainability. So brand experience leaders who are too focused on AI, in AI sales at least, might be missing a huge chance to really connect with people by highlighting the human side, the unique stories behind their individual products. That could be as simple as being transparent about their supply chain, showcasing the actual makers of their products, or just sharing their brand's values through storytelling.
Sure. Yeah, I'm thinking about the aesthetics that I want to convey in my own apartment, and a robot 3D printing my couch is kind of at odds with how I'm imagining that, and or
Exactly.
the story behind a piece, and how could that ever become an heirloom? I think that's a great point you're making. But of course, the issue at the heart of Vox are leader preferences for how and when they work with vendors. So, Dave, what early signals do you look for in vendors? What early signals tell you they get the reality of your business?
I spend a lot of time meeting with and vetting new tech vendors because all day, every day, people are reaching out trying to sell me something. But a few things stand out. First, have they done their homework? Do they actually know our business? Do they know my vertical? Do they even know how to say our name, who our competitors are, what our potential challenges are before they start pitching? Or do they just dive right into the pitch? It's a huge red flag when they just dive into the pitch. Second, are they just running through a standard presentation, or have they actually tailored their approach to our needs? I'm looking for customization. I'm looking for personalization. I'm not looking for a routine check the box exercise of presentation. And then third, the upfront about pricing. If they're evasive, that usually signals hidden costs to me. And then finally, how willing are they to negotiate? At least at my level, I expect flexibility on everything. MSA and SOW terms, pricing, proof of concepts, customer interactions, partner discounts, timelines, integration support, et cetera, et cetera. Companies unwilling to budge likely aren't truly invested in earning our business. So conversely, if their advertised pricing feels like a starting point for massive giveaways, it often suggests a level of desperation that can also bring concern.
That is extremely granular. Wow. Thank you, Dave. No, that's a great point. I can't wait to share the results of that evaluation survey where leaders can share all the tactics they have about here are the SLA terms that I've run into, and here's how I've found a solution that has worked for me and my business. That'll be exciting to share. I can't believe there's a topic that's demanding more attention from us than AI. But as leaders are trying to figure out pricing and maybe more importantly, messaging in a post-tariffs world, every step of the supply chain and customer journey can be affected. Dave, how does one stay profitable when geopolitics rewrites shipping invoices all the way to last mile delivery economics?
You're right. It's almost wild that something other than AI is grabbing so much attention right now. But welcome to 2025. This whole juggling act with tariffs and shipping costs is a real headache, especially when you're trying to figure out pricing and how to talk to customers about it. So how do you stay in the black when the world throws a wrench in your shipping costs at every turn? Well, looking at it, we're seeing container costs jump. which puts the squeeze on offering free and discounted shipping because we're eating up our margin. Then you've got carriers hitting those tariffed categories like appliances and mattresses with extra charges because they're heavier. They're more expensive to ship. Plus, things are taking longer to get here as everyone tries to route shipments through other ports that are tariff free. One way to handle this without constantly changing product prices might be to smooth things out by adding surcharges to other services rather than products. Like that last mile delivery you mentioned. It's a way to adjust without making the base product price feel like it's all over the place. It's definitely a tricky balancing act between absorbing costs, passing them on to the customers, and then keeping customers happy.
Wow. And having to update your entire system across this omni-channel experience. Actually kind of shocked that you actually have any free time to talk to me today, Dave, with how busy your world must be.
Yeah, for sure.
And the way it's rolled out, given that lag between policy announcement and the actual impact, how do you scenario plan inventory and even promotions?
Yeah, and I'm not fully on that side of the business, but I do certainly have certainly visibility and involvement there. But the lag time between when the policy is announced and when it actually hits our bottom line is a real unknown when you're trying to figure out inventory and promotion planning. I mean, how do you even think about it? One thing we're looking at is trying to forward buy those SKUs that we know are going to get hit with those higher duties before the tariff hikes actually land. It's a bit of a gamble, but it could save us down the road if we can buy inventory up front. We're also thinking about hedging our bets with some extra warehouse space closer to ports, using a 3PL or third-party logistics when we can. That way, if things shift quickly, we've got a bit more flexibility to move inventory around, and it's already here. When it comes to promos, we're trying to make our calendar a lot more adaptable. We're looking at tying it more closely to alerts about our actual landed costs. That way, if those costs jump unexpectedly, we can adjust our promotions more quickly instead of being locked into something that suddenly doesn't make sense anymore. It's all about trying to build in agility to our pricing models.
Wow. And compliance doesn't have to feel like an antagonist to your efforts because you've argued it should be an enabler. How do you build a better working alliance with your legal department?
I mean, you're spot on. Compliance should not feel like we're constantly fighting against it. It really should be something that helps the business move forward. When it comes to building a better relationship with legal, we found a few things that make a difference. One thing we've started to do is a weekly cross-functional risk huddle. It's not just legal. We've got ops in there, merchandising, finance. Everyone can kind of get together and talk on a weekly basis. Quick way to get everyone on the same page about potential issues. We've also tried to find some common ground on shared KPIs. Things like how quickly we can get products to market and have zero penalty notices from a compliance standpoint. We're all aiming for the same outcomes, so it changes the dynamic when we open up those lines of communication. And a big part of it's just making sure everyone's on the same page. Legal speaks a different language than operations. So we work on translating all that regulatory jargon into clear, actionable checklists for our operations teams and all the way down into our service level agreements with our vendors. When it's not some abstract legal concept, but an actual concrete step or action that can be taken, it's a lot easier to work together.
Cannot understate the effect of a great team, especially now. Great point. For our leaders listening in, what's one process tweak that pays off fastest when tariffs or regulatory shift overnight?
Yeah, I'd say focus on being prepared to pivot quickly. One process tweak that can pay off almost immediately is to have pre-approved alternative HS codes and carrier lanes already loaded into your TMS, a transportation management system. That way, when something shifts, you're not scrambling to figure out new classifications or how to reroute shipments. You've already got your options loaded and ready to go. Another thing that gives you quick visibility into it is a dashboard that connects duty changes directly to SKU margin heat maps. Seeing in real time which products are most affected and how your profitability is changing allows you to make quicker decisions on pricing and promotions. And then finally have an escalation playbook that's already been reviewed and signed off on by legal before you actually need it can really save a bunch of time. When those urgent compliance issues pop up, you already know exactly who needs to do what, and you're not waiting for legal approvals in the middle of some crisis. It's all about having those contingency plans in place and ready to roll when you need them.
Wow. And I'm hearing contingencies and me being more on the operational side here at VOX, the research side, I'm thinking, oh, you have to set up all that work. And as well for your contingencies, you're looking at 2x, 3x the amount of work you have to do in preparation. But the ability to pivot on a dime by hitting a button and updating a system like that, that's the advantage you have for ultimately getting your items to the customer and strengthening that brand identity. And it's all worth it for the people who are the bottom line after all.
Absolutely.
I always like to wrap up by shining a light on some big wins of our guests, those war stories where you put out a fire or built something uniquely difficult. Dave, could you share a story where your team faced significant hurdles and how you overcame them?
Absolutely. I mean, first of all, you could start with myriad options here, but for us, a big one was we did an ERP conversion last year. And for a company that's been around for decades, I mean, we're coming up on 100 years, moving all that legacy data was a massive multi-year undertaking. And to make things even more interesting, when it came to the website side of things, our ERP vendor only gave us about 20% of the connections that we actually needed for the website to run effectively. It made the website transition incredibly painful, kind of like building a car with only a handful of the right parts. But we're now a year post that ERP launch. The new version's proving to be way more powerful than what we had before, so it's good. Looking back, the benefits that we're seeing now have definitely made all those growing pains worth it. It was a tough climb, but we got there.
All right, and I'm sure your vendor partner also very happy to hear that you've gotten through the challenging time for that spot on recommendation. Last one for you, Dave. There are senior managers watching who will become the next cohort of leaders. What career advice would you offer them?
Well, the biggest piece of advice that I've learned over almost 25 years of managing people is to focus on people. I've found that so many things can pull you in different directions as a leader: corporate politics, budget headaches, team drama. But at the end of the day, what really matters, in business at least, is relationships. If you genuinely care for your team, they're going to take care for your customers. And that connection is where great brands really take off. It sounds simple, but putting people first makes all the difference.
Turning everyone into champions, not just your customers, but those boots on the ground
Absolutely.
people as well. Love it. Love it. That's all the time we have. Thank you for joining us, Dave. And to our audience, we'll be back next week as we uncover more of the evolving retail landscape and understand the consensus voice of its leaders, because above all else, VOX wins.